like to install a shade sail for your home, deck, pool, or play area? Here's what I learned along the way, and I hope it helps you as well. Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about our experience with shade sails. We are in the process right now as I speak. We have our posts up and we have our shade sails, so I'm going to start by just talking a little bit about why we decided to put up a shade sail, how the process is going, and I will follow this section with the results so I can show you our shade sail, as well as if I think it's making us cooler and all of the benefits. So let's get into it. So why are we looking at a shade sail? It turns out that we live in Southern California and it gets quite warm in the summer, and the electricity bills have been really piling up. I don't know if we're using more or if the rates are higher. I can easily find out. All I know is we're spending more on electricity for the air conditioning, and we have a south face of our house that of course gets all the sun during the summer. And unfortunately in this house we tend to work from home, and the folks that work on the southern side are the ones most sensitive to heat. And we also have these windows that are getting direct sunlight. So the idea with getting sunshades was to try and see if we can shade those windows and perhaps cool down the house a little more. So that's the plan. Now, obviously there are a lot of solutions for putting up some kind of shade in one's backyard. And why did we choose shade sails? Well, I think the real obvious answer is that the shade sails are quite inexpensive. I've been watching the YouTube videos, and there are a lot of folks who are just putting up 4 poles in their backyards against the windows. Then they just put up their shade sails, and the shade sails are really very inexpensive. They don't weigh a lot, and they're supposed to offer other benefits, which I will go over in just a moment. What are the benefits of shade sails? Well, according to the brand that we bought, we just happened to buy Color Tree. I'm not sure how we settled on this. We didn't really do that much research, but we have Color Tree shade sails. Now, according to the company's website, they're supposed to filter out some 98% of all UV rays. So that's got to take you someplace. The other thing that they claim is that they're actually cooler than having actual shade from a solid pergola or solid roof. And so that's an intriguing claim, because what they're saying is that as the ground gets heated, I guess most people would probably have a concrete slab or some type of patio that's going to absorb heat. By using a shade sail, and because it's porous, the heat in theory is supposed to rise up and pass through the cloth, whereas a pergola would tend to retain the heat. Our main purpose is to try and just keep direct sun off of the windows, and then we'll see if we get great results in terms of lower air conditioning bills. So our shade sail hardware and material are in. Let's take a look. We bought 3 of these, and I can't believe how lightweight they are. This one's I think 8 by 13 or 8 by 14 feet. Which we measured. Now I'm really surprised by looking at this material how porous it is. Now I happen to wear a lot of sun shirts, and so I know that I can see the sun or see a bright light through the cloth of, say, a sun shirt. And so I wasn't sure what I was expecting here, but I certainly can see light through this cloth, and certainly I can see the sun. And when I have direct sun, I can actually see glints of direct sun in its shadow. Looking at this though, thinking about it, looking at it directly is probably not the way that this cloth works. I think that the sun is typically at an angle, and so I've seen this with sun shirts that the sun is supposed to come in and be diffused by the pattern I'm actually guessing right now. They haven't actually stated that on the website. So anyway, we have 3 of these, and we'll get them set up on the poles and see what happens. Of course, the second part of this is you need hardware, and so we did order these. And this hardware is really hefty. It wasn't even that expensive. I think we have enough for 2 setups in one bag here. We bought enough for 3 setups, so that would be 4 corners on each cloth. So there's about 12 different kinds of hooks and that type of thing. And of course, they give you the brackets that you can place against your posts and against the wall or fascia of your home. Get it installed and we'll see how it works. Another aspect, of course, of the cloth is that you do have to connect the cloth, and they do come with their own grommets. In this case, they're rings. And it looks to be very sturdy. I see there's 4 layers of stitching here, as well as a solid seam that appears to be very solid, certainly more solid than the cloth itself. So I think the construction looks quite good. There's also a nylon webbing here that, well, we'll see how it holds up. Now, Color Trees claims that their cloths, or the shade sails, could last anywhere between 3 and 10 years, depending on conditions, of course. Well, we will test it out and see. Unfortunately, for purposes of this video, I'm just going to show you the end result and then provide some insights into what I think were some of the temperature reductions. That's mainly why we're doing this. But if I do have some long-term results in terms of this only lasted us 3 years or it lasted us 10 years, I will follow up with a comment. I think on the internet, everything lives forever. So maybe I can follow up with a comment and pin it at the top that has long-term results as well. I want to talk a little bit about our setup. I watched numerous videos. So there's a lot of people who attach a piece of wood against their home or against the wall. I guess some people use the fascia. I didn't see a lot of people doing that. And there's others who do freestanding type things. So in that case, you do have to install a post. And according to the Color Tree website, they want you to, for example, if you have a 12-foot post, they want you to have it dug down into the ground another 6 feet or half of the length of the post that you see above ground. And so, and there's others who actually just take giant potted plant kind of planter things, put the post in that, and then pour concrete in and use those as footings. Although there were a couple of YouTubers who did that and the sails blew over in the wind. And so I'm sure that's going to be a problem. So it's got to be really anchored, because these things do act as shade sails, as the name implies. So we decided to erect 3 posts, and then we're using a board that's placed against the wall, mounted into the wall into studs, and then that will serve as the basis for our mounting of the shade sail. One other thing is we decided to use an incline. According to the Color Tree site, the incline works nicely because obviously it'll give you that angle, and then the sun comes in and hopefully it's dissipated and reflected. But the other thing is that the porous nature of the sunshade that we bought is not waterproof. There is a version that you can purchase that's waterproof, but we decided that we didn't want the waterproofing. And then by placing it at an angle, it's more likely for the water to roll down the sunshade, as opposed to if you have it flat, it might tend to pull up a little bit, and we don't want to deal with mold and such. I guess hypothetically the cloth is porous, so it shouldn't pool up and then cause problems with mold, as well as creating pools for mosquitoes to breed, those types of things. And so we chose to create an incline. With the cloth, we don't know what we're getting into, but you can come along for the ride. General recommendations are that you purchase a sunshade about a foot shorter than the dimension that you're trying to fill. You do have to allow for stretching of the fabric and for the hardware itself. Some sites recommend 10% shorter in dimension. We followed this rule, and after installation, my wife felt that the shade was too small in width. We only took out one of the 3 fabrics and test mounted it. Fortunately, Color Tree was very good about allowing us to return the 3 shade sails and get larger sizes. A foot wider and longer turned out to be a little too big, but our structure fortunately allowed for each sail to be mounted a bit higher. This did result in more shade coverage. Our shade sails do prevent the direct sun from hitting our southern windows. Are we cooler? While we haven't done any scientific measurements, we do feel that the shades are making a difference. It's 99 degrees today, and our air conditioning is set to 80 degrees. This might not work for many of you, and of course there's no humidity, but so far it's working for us. We do also have fans going on in each room where we are working. With the design of our structure and shade, the sun tends to hit the windows late in the day, and that tends to warm the house. So we'll probably purchase shades for the west side of the house to further shield the home. My recommendation is that when designing your shade sail setup, that you first take a good look at how the sun is hitting your home. Of course, this also applies to your deck or pool. If you have a complete blank canvas to set up your poles or structure to support your sails, I suppose that you can put up temporary poles and then string rope across them to check the shadows and potential shade throughout the day. For us, we are happy so far with our sun sails. If you have questions, feel free to comment below and I'll try to answer them. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.